this is why I don't watch those theatrics. When I watch the people in Congress, when I watch them, I feel like somebody needs to. Well,
I'm sorry, that's the
Cabbage Patch Grifter.
Cabbage Patch Grifter.
I feel like that when I watch these theatrics, I feel like somebody needs to be a grown up. Like these people they're just not serious. These are not serious people. So it's very hard for me to watch it. And this is both sides. They're all silly. And they lie through their teeth. And what's so ridiculous is that they lie about things that are so readily rebuttable. Like we have, there's smartphones now, people. They've been around for years. So even at your little private donor dinner, people like Mike Lee making statements that my sole purpose of being here is to get rid of Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. And then you're sitting in the State of the Union looking like, oh my God, who, me? We would never do that. How ridiculous. It doesn't fly.
And as Paul likes to point out, first you've got Pelosi with the clap, then the tearing of the paper.
Which, by the way, was perforated for her.
Yeah, that's the type of stuff that the person who is struggling to put food on the table, who is struggling because they don't have any health care, their job is not fulfilling or compensating properly.
No.
Those are people who will look at that and say, whatever the other side is selling, as long as they're not sanctimonious pricks like this person, I'll vote for them just out of spite.
Yes.
I don't care what they're offering. I don't want anything. Hopefully it holds.
It's not the internet. It's something else. And I don't know what, and we don't know we don't have a StreamYard expert because we don't have a StreamYard expert. But anyway, what really is very frustrating is that it is so theatrical, but it's not even, nothing comes of it. It's not like even if you're putting on theatrics that you could even get some sort of progress made. All they do is just fight to fight. It's just like, and by the way, Nancy Pelosi, it's those kinds of theatrics and that kind of nonsense when you're wondering, why would somebody break into my house? This is why. This is why.
And then there are enough people who just go around constantly saying that they're elected officials and that we must maintain decency and what decency? What decency? There isn't any point to this. And friend of the show, also part of Status Quo News, Zaina Day, who actually was AOC speechwriter, has made it very clear that it is unfortunate that there are people who still want to believe that AOC is going to become, this sort of revolutionary leader on the Hill. It's not going to happen. That's not what she's going to do. That doesn't mean she's a bad person, but the expectations of what you think she's going to do for the average person, it's not going to happen. And somebody decided to point out, it wasn't anybody of note, but they pointed out that AOC has the most progressive voting record out of anybody on the Hill. And that doesn't mean anything if those votes are never going to get to the floor for a vote anyway. So it's in a committee and you say, yes, I support Medicare for all. Yes, I support a Green New Deal. Yes, I support expansion of union rights and things like that. It's easy to do that if you know it's never going to get to the floor. And I'm not saying she's going to pull it back, but it's not like, as far as I know, that she's going around knocking on moderate congressional elected representatives' doors and asking them, hey, this is a very important piece of legislation. Would you consider co-signing because it's going to be great for your constituency? I don't know, but I don't think that's happening. Just a thought. I could be wrong.
Look, and I've said this multiple times about her, and I don't know her personally, but it seems to me that from pretty early on, her passion for the people was somehow she fell in line. She fell in line with Mama Bear, and I'm not judging it. I'm not. It's just I'm just observing it. And so to me, all of it is just you say what people want to hear at the times when you won't actually have to do anything about it.
If there was some type of a leadership council committee, whatever you want to call it, that was part of the true non-corporate left, whoever it is, you guys really don't think that Greg Casar, Maxwell Frost, Delia Ramirez, Ayanna Pressley, AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Raul Guevara, Ilhan Omar, Jasmine Crockett, Summer Lee, Cori Bush. You're telling me that they wouldn't coalesce behind pushing for some type of a Medicare for all type situation? Of course they would. But
nobody's taking that point.
Nobody wants to. No one wants it. Everyone is convinced right now that the water is either boiling hot or freezing cold. Either way, they're not stepping in because the temperature doesn't suit what they feel is correct at the time. And for the people that are out there that are suffering every day, that's not good enough at this point. There has to be somebody who's willing to do this. I don't know why no one is willing to take that chance. But then again, the only thing that makes sense is that having this job is extremely lucrative.
Yeah, well, that's what it comes down to. The bottom line is, regardless of what they're threatened with in terms of their professional, like inside Congress from people like Nancy Pelosi or Hakeem Jeffries, like regardless of what they're threatened with, at the end of the day, if you fall in line, you're saying that keeping that job is more important to you than doing what you went there to do. So it's really self-defeating. Like you're really not, it defeats the whole purpose of being there. But again, it becomes a career. It becomes a career. I'd love to see, you know what, honestly, these should be like unpaid positions. You should get a stipend while you're in DC and that's it.
Yeah.
Let's see how many people flock to that when they're unpaid and there's no more paid lobbyists either.
Well, ultimately, one of the arguments, of course, is the opposite of what you're suggesting, which, of course, is that Congress should be paid a lot more than what they're paid. It's kind of this argument that, you know, teachers obviously should be paid more, that police officers should be paid X amount of dollars to just completely avoid the issue of corruption, which I do think is... there
will never be enough money to pay them to avoid the issue of corruption, which is why I say they're public servants. You get a stipend when you're in DC. We'll subsidize this, whatever. I'm sorry. The salary thing and the whole life thing makes it to where it becomes a career for people. And that just is not how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I agree. And it's just, you know, we're looking through clips right now of what we may talk about. But, you know, I mean, again, it's just...
I don't want to like rewatch. Look at her. She's like a ridiculous...
Lunacy.
She's just like a farce.
It's the lunacy of it all. But I will say, look, I watched it. I was with Jordan and Zaina, and, you know, we went through the whole thing. And of course, it was the son of the...
I can't stomach that.
What I will say... okay, this is probably good. All right, so we're going to put this on. This is going to be Biden's second State of the Union speech in 1 minute. So you're basically going to hear all the key talking points.
I apologize in advance for people who don't want this. If now is the time to mute if you don't want to hear it.
Well, of course. So hang on 1 second. So
I'm just saying, you know,
not everybody's going to want to hear it.
Not everybody wants to hear it. I know I didn't.
Well. All right, so here's what the president of the United States has to say.
All right, come on, Corn Pop.
He was a bad dude.
The cost of preserving jobs, I will veto it. No billionaire should be paying a lower tax rate than a school teacher or firefighter. I mean it. Think about it. Let me give you, anybody who doubts it, contact my office. I'll give you a copy. I'll give you a copy of the proposal. That means Congress doesn't vote. Here's what Tyree's mother shared with me when I spoke to her. When I asked her how she finds the courage to carry on and speak out. The faith of God, she said her son was, quote, a beautiful soul, and something good will come of this. Name me a world leader who changed places with Xi Jinping. Name me one. If you try anything to raise the cost of preserving jobs, I will veto it. No billionaire should be paying.
So, of course, this is Bloomberg who put the short together. And the most important line of the entire night, or the most important part of the Biden State of the Union, which went on way longer than it should have.
They always do.
Literally within a matter of seconds, he went from climate change is the existential crisis of our time to we must use oil and gas as our primary energy source for at least the next decade. I'm just thinking, look, it's one thing if you're not going to say we're going to completely phase out oil and gas in the next decade. That is beyond a reach, to say the least. But to suggest that oil and gas must be front and center for at least the next 10 years. There's no logic. And then he talks about drilling in land throughout the country.
Have we heard from the Bright Green Lights people?
No, not yet. That's on me. I got to follow up.
Please.
I will.
I have to talk to those people. But this is why I don't watch the State of the Union, because one, I don't believe a word that comes out of his mouth. And two, it doesn't matter. Even if he believed what he was saying, it doesn't mean anything's going to actually happen.
I just don't understand.
It's just theater.
You could say one thing in that 1 minute, and then the next thing you know, you're going right back to, but I'm actually worse than Trump on this issue. And he is. That's what's amazing. That's
Nobody
what people
cares.
just don't want to. It's not computing with the fact that he, in 2 years, has issued more drilling permits than Trump issued in 4 years. That's amazing.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.